Who's your emergency contact? Who should we notify in the case of death? Welcome to the USP, where I spent the last 2+ decades of my life. I know you guys been wanting a story about some mobsters. So, like I said, where I've done my time was on the West Coast, Lompoc, Victorville, Atwater. I was in Lewisburg, but in Lewisburg, it was a smooth program, so I was just locked down. Then I got sent to Florence, and that all the places I've been, there haven't been too many like mobsters on the yard. There was a lot of them in Beaumont. A lot of people don't like to hear that the dudes from Boston, which I'm going to assume they were mobster, were the one running the yard for all the white boys. When I say all the white boys, I'm talking about the independent whites, skinhead, white supremacists, all the white gangs. They all fell under the Boston car. And, while I was there, the ABTs and some other gangs that was over there had some issues about it or whatever, but they were never like strong enough to go against the Boston dudes, or they didn't have the heart to overthrow the Boston dudes. And the guy that ran the yard over there was Richie. He was about the only one I met. Everywhere he walked, he had a couple dudes that walked around that was security for him and all that stuff. But but this story I'm about to share with you today is not something that I witnessed personally or anything like that. Uh, every week I go to this SUD class, substance abuse class, and one of the dudes that's in my class was a white dude named Jeremy that was in Victorville with me. And he's from out here from Utah, of course, because that's where we're going to our classes. And a couple of weeks ago, I was chopping it up about, where he ended up leaving after I left Victorville. I left Victorville in March of 2006. I got caught up around, I think maybe the end of November or December of 2005. Spent about 6 months in the shoe and then got shipped out to Beaumont. So when we was chopping it up, I was asking him like, hey, where did you go? Like, how long did you stay in Victorville before you got shipped out? He said he left Victorville about 2007 and ended up in Canaan. And, through the course of our conversation, I was asking him like, what was one of the craziest shit you seen over there when you was in Canaan? So he relayed this story to me, and I verified that the story was true through a couple other sources or whatever. So the story goes, there was this mobster dude who was part of John Gotti Jr.'s crew. He had he had took the stand and testified in John Gotti's Jr. Gotti behalf. So he wasn't a rat or anything like that. He just, he testified on John Jr.'s behalf. So they're in Canaan, and he's a made man. And if anybody know about the history of the mafia, the Italian mob, to be a made man, you have to be a certain type of individual, especially one that is willing to kill. Because any of these organized crimes that I've shared with you guys out here, whether it's the Black Hand, whether it's the Nostra Familia, you have to have a body to become part of it. Like right now, some of these people that are recruiting in the penitentiary, in the penitentiary it's hard to kill somebody to get away with it. But they know that, they're all locked up for forever. All of them's got 40, 50, 100 years, life sentences, and all that, and all the rest. So now, like dudes that they see that they have the potential to be one of their members, they tell them, you owe a body, where they're making you a member of the organization, but they don't want you to catch the body in the penitentiary because then you'll get stuck. They come to these dudes that are eligible to get home, a few years down the road, but they have the characteristic about them that they can become leaders, in their organization when they get back to their neighborhood, when they get back to their city, when they get back to the states. Because as you know, like all throughout the United States, there's different organizations that control these different neighborhoods for whatever nefarious, you know, operations they got going on and all the rest. So right now, I met a few that became like black hands and most of them familiar through the course of my bid, but they might have a body on their case before, but they didn't go and catch a body to become a member, but they owe a body. So when they come home, because these different organizations, they have a lot of enemies, and they have a lot of people that they're hunting down that, for a lack of a better word, that are busters that got xed out or isn't participating anymore. And as I've shared with you, when it comes to these different organizations, it's blood in, blood out. You can't quit when you want to. For me, I'm not from any of you know, these organizations or related to any of them. I'm just a kid from Utah that I ran with my own gang out here, and we didn't have, the high standard structure that these other people do. And I'm not even going to attempt to compare myself to any of these individuals because that wasn't the life that I wanted, and that wasn't the life that I'm trying to commit myself to. But while I was in the penitentiary, I held my own, and these are people that I consider my peers. You know, so going back to the story of this mobster, I think his name is Joseph O'Kaney. I think it's spelled O hyphen. Is it a hyphen? Kane or something like that, right? Well, anyway, he was in his block where this white boy that I was talking to, Jeremy, was relaying. He was in the block with him. He seen the incident, you know, and through the course of the time that he was there, this dude O'Kaney, he's a made man, and I'm not sure what state Canaan is in, but what was relayed to me, it seems like there was a lot of mobsters over there in Canaan. Like, that was like a place where, because like on the West Coast, you only get one or two, here and there. But but this dude was over there in Canaan, and he was in this block with this dude named Jeremy. But but they had this one other white boy that was like considered a nobody, at least from the perspective of this mobster. So he would always punk this dude, treat him bad, talk bad to him, and all the rest. And he would have this dude hold the wine, like when they making wine or whatever for them to drink and party and stuff. He put it in the dude's cell without his permission, and dude really couldn't say no to it. He was just like, one, he knows this dude is a made man. This dude's got soldiers on the compound. This dude's got a lot of juice, not with just inside the penitentiary, but out in the real world too. So the dude Woofy was scared of him. And, the mobster would go and hide the knives in his cell and just kind of pretty much like punked him, treat him like shit. But, I try to emphasize to you, the viewers, that at the end of the day, we all bleed, homie. And there's no way around that. I don't care if you're the toughest dude in the world. I don't care if you're a weenie. When you put a dog in a corner, he's going to bite. Maybe the dog's not a fighter, but would you leave a man no choice as far as when it comes to his manhood? He's going to do one or two things. He's going to become your bitch and going to be running around, doing sexual favors, or he's going to retaliate. And it got to the point where this dude got tired of this mobster just like punking him all the time, treating him bad in front of other people and stuff. But even then, he wasn't, at the point to where he was fed up with it enough to defend himself or fight back or anything. Because, like I said, he was scared. This dude was made and he had a lot of connections. But I guess one day, Wolfie kind of got like wanted to speak up about, how he was being mistreated by this dude. And the dude just went in on him talking about, I'll have your whole family killed on the streets. And, a lot of times people like, they might not stand up for themselves. They might not fight when it has something to do with them. But when you put somebody's family, somebody's kids, somebody's wives into the mix, it brings something different out of a man. Because now, his life is already forfeit. From the story that I was told, Wolfie, he had a lot of time to do anyway. So he forfeited his life already as far as like coming back out into the real world. But he has wives and kids that he still loved and cared about on the streets. So when this mobster threatened his family, the dude went back and made up his mind because now he feels like, as a man, as a father, it's his duty and obligation to protect his family. So one day he got up, watched, he was stalking dude, watching, and another thing about these tough dudes, right? These made men, these tough dudes that got the patches on their neck, they got the tattoos on their face, and feel like I just don't understand like the concept of it because me being in a penitentiary, I've seen dudes that people consider are weak and soft or lames, go hard, butcher their oppressor, butcher the bully, because the bully from their aspect is like nobody's gonna fuck with them. I ain't worried about this lame over here. So they're walking around not really conscious of their environment because, everywhere they go, they got their homies watching their back. Everywhere they go, when they leave the unit, when they go to chow, when they go to education, they got security with them. I never walked around with any security. And when I was in the penitentiary, I walked around by myself. That's not to say that I didn't hang out with my homeboys and kicked it or whatever, but I wasn't like, hey, you ready to go over here and waiting for a crew of homies to come around me, surrounding me when I'm walking up to chow or walking up to education. But I'm not knocking those people that have those securities with them because these people that have security with them, a lot of them are high profile gangsters that have a lot of enemies, and they know that. So they have the security detail with them to make sure that if something pops off, nobody's trying to sneak up on them and get a hit on them. So, but a lot of these dudes that have these authority that are in position of being shot callers and bosses and all the rest of it, they're arrogant. Me, when I have a confrontation with someone, homie, even though we resolve it verbally and I want to believe the man that we're cool, like we resolved it, he shook my hand, everything is good, depending on what the confrontation is over. Like, especially if I punk somebody. If I pull somebody's card and they have no choice but to bow down or whatever, or they don't want to get in the funk and they concede, but at the end of the day, we still like, hey, this is a dead issue. I don't leave them out of my sight. I don't, when they're walking in the unit, I don't ever let them walk behind my back. I don't ever, like right now, I got both of my headphones on right here because I'm in my basement doing a video. But while the whole time I was in prison, when I watched TV, I'd have my headphones like this, one on my ear, my other ear open so that I can always still be hip to the sound and the noises that's going on in the unit. Same thing with my earbuds. I just put one earbud in one ear and leave the other one open because You don't want to be sitting there kicking back with your feet on the table, watching TV, and then even and then something pop off. Even though it has nothing to do with you, even though you conduct yourself in a certain way where there's not going to be any type of issue, you don't know what the people that is in your community, which is your car. I'm Asian Islander, so one of my Asian Islander homeboys might be at a chow hall and might have got into a confrontation with somebody up there, and I'm sitting over here watching TV with both my headphones on, not having a clue, and then them dudes, the words get around, they come back, bust me in my head. I'm gonna have to exit you. So at the end of the day, anytime I have a confrontation with somebody, every time I have some words of disagreement with someone, and even though we've called it cools and decide to move on, I'm always on guard. I don't allow anybody to walk behind my back. I don't allow anybody to walk behind my back, period. Unless they just walk, when somebody do walk behind my back, I'm always conscious of it. I keep them in my peripheral because you never know what you've done to make someone feel that they've been disrespected. And some people, if they feel they can't defeat you head up, they're gonna sneak you. And I'm not even calling that a coward move because when it comes to war, homie, the only rules there is to win. And for me, it's to win by any means. Because in a penitentiary, you're not fist fighting for a belt. You're not fist fighting for some money or for some pride. When you're in a confrontation, you're fighting for your life. So I don't have no rules when it comes to war. The only rule is win because at the end of the day, the only one that's going to cry about getting hit in the balls or getting poked in the eye is the loser. The winner don't give a fuck how he won, you know? And that's the mentality that you have to carry when you're in a confrontation in the penitentiary. So that's why it baffles me that some of these dudes, because of their rank, because of their stature or their size, they feel they can disregard these rules. And and at the end of the day, it comes back to bite a lot of them in the ass. So going back to this mobster dude, he punked this dude. He been punking this dude, been making this dude hold his wine, been making this dude hold the knives and all the rest. But one day, he decided that he could just threaten the dude's family. And nobody in the block expected the dude to do anything because they've been watching him get punked this whole time and been watching him, just be a little do boy to this mobster dude. But one morning, dude was watching that mobster, watched him go into his cell, went in there and stabbed him up. Stabbed him up about 15 to 20 times and killed him and left him on the bunk. So, but here's the crazy part. You're like, oh, he just killed the dude. How is that not the crazy part? Well, after the dude killed him, there was other individuals in the block that kind of not didn't really like the dude because he wasn't Wolfie wasn't the only one that mobster was punking. So they had they say maybe two or three dudes went into the dude's cell, and the mobster he had watches, he had rings, he had necklaces, had jewelries and a bunch of items in his block or whatever. But these dumbasses, for whatever reason, felt that they can go in there and steal his shit. They took his watch, they took his ring, they took his necklace. They're taking this stuff off a dead body after after he just got killed. So whatever, the COs come, they take Wolfie to the shoe, and the rest of it. But the story doesn't end there. Like I don't know the names of the individuals that went into the cell and stole this dude's stuff, but somehow his sister that was on the street that found out the names of all these individuals and put it on the wire, sent it out to all the people that they knew. Being a made man, part of the Italian mob, being part of Jr.'s John Gotti Jr.'s crew, you have a lot of connections, especially out, you know, out in that area wherever they were operating in, and also in the penitentiary because you know money speaks. When you got money, or if you're a good dude and people respect you, you're always going to be able to reach across racial lines, across gangs, and ask favors because they know when you ask somebody for a favor, you're going to owe that person a favor. So a lot of times they're just exchanging favors. Hey, take care of this for me, and I'll take care of that for you, so on and so forth. And she put the word out, put the names of these dudes that went in that cell and stole these stuff from him. And from my understanding of a couple people that I've talked to verify the story, they were like, yeah, everywhere them dudes went, they all got punished, you know, for because the dude was a made man, and just for to keep face for reputation's sake, you can't allow somebody to come and do that to one of your people, especially after he already got killed. But but at the end of the day, nobody got charged for the murder. The dude got sent to ADX, and I'm sure, like I don't know what the outcome of that, but I'm sure that he's got a green light on him. He'll probably never ever be able to walk the main line again because of the person he killed. But nobody got charged for the murder, and the reason his family think that nobody got charged for the murder or did anything about the people that robbed him after he was dead was because he was a notorious gangster, and they were probably happy to get rid of him or be rid of him. This is the life we live, man. This is the environment that I've been in for the last 2 decades plus. And it never ends. You know, again, like I'm continuing to work on this platform, continue to bring you guys content. I've reached out to a couple of my people that's going to come on here and share their story with you. It's just endless content, but it's not like I don't know, I don't have the word for it. It's not something like I'm excited about. Like, oh, we got so many freaking tragedy and atrocity and craziness. Is at the end of the day, it's just sad. But I'm sharing it with you because one, it's entertaining, and two, to give you guys you know, the real deal. To let you guys know what the penitentiary in the United States is really like. And it ain't nothing nice. Welcome to the USP.